Hey guys, I'm FatBuddyCat, and this is the Ultimate Torque Bug 3.0. Step 1 calls for an OMB Warehouse torque converter riser plate. This one has already been painted and slightly modified. This originally had 4 single holes that were drilled in it, just like these. So all they did was make square lines from each side of the hole to mark out some channels that I cut out with a small angle grinder. Probably could have done a little bit neater in the corners, but this will suffice. The reason these slots are so important is because we're using a fixed axle. That means if we want to put tension on our chain, it would behoove us to have the adjustment on the plate. The other nice thing about the slots, now all we have to drill is 4 holes. I just have to figure out where those holes are going to go. The most important thing is mounting this plate square to that back sprocket. Yeah, arts and crafts time. So, I just made a template to match the old Slaughterinos. Voila. This edge lines up with the plate. So, now just have to transfer this onto this here down here. I only need 4 holes though, I don't need the slots, but it'll really help to see where they are. That way we know what sort of adjustment we have in this thing. We know that we can only go this far forward, so maybe we want to go back as far as we can. That way forward is there no matter what. It's always easier if I just show you. This is our straight edge over here on the factory plate. This is the exact size of the riser plate that we're putting on. Our notches are marked out, and when I line it up with this edge, you can see the 4 holes that I've marked. The reason that I put the 4 holes on the back of the slots is because this is as far forward as we want to come, because we'll hit this no matter what. If all the holes are in the back of the slot, that allows the plate to go back this way. So hopefully that will allow us to tension our chain. That took a little bit of effort, but nothing unusual. I have 4 holes drilled. We have the slots, the plate, and I have 4 makeshift bolts. I'm going to put the plate on, drop the bolts in, and see how I did. There we go. Simple solution. Now we have full range of those slots. Come up right to the front where we want to be. Back here, we just overhang ever so slightly. If we want to make this thing come back more, all we got to do is slot these holes. The reason I didn't do that, I wanted to keep a nice amount of sideboard meat from the edge of the stock plate to the hole to prevent cracking, stuff like that. If we slot them ever so slightly this way, we can pick up another ½ inch or so. The reason we're using the OMB Warehouse riser plate for this application is for the pulley clearance on the torque converter. We're going to do it a little bit different this time. This should be pretty cool. We'll take this back to the bench. Also on the bench is a clutch mount jackshaft from BMI Karts Parts. This is what we're going to mount our pulley on. Conveniently, these 4 holes are the same layout as those 4 holes. That's awesome. Because that means that when the motor sits on top of that plate, the bolts can go directly through into the riser plate. And that will hold our motor right where it needs to be. We're going to have to make an adjustment though. And I'll show you why. These aren't even the right size thread, but they can act as pins for now. If we look at the design of this clutch mount jackshaft, we can see that it's 1/8 inch steel. That's not bad. However, this jackshaft section is just kind of cantilevered off the back and dangling out in no man's land. To make matters worse, this was made out of a flat piece of steel. They cut it out and then they bend up these as tabs. Well, right there and right here would be a terrific spot for a crack to start. Also, a really bad leverage point for our jack shaft to start tweaking down. That's not good. Simple fix. All I did was cut out a piece of 1/4 inch plate. This is 4 inch, and it is the same width as the jack shaft. I then marked the centers of these 4 holes onto the plate. I turn those holes into 4 mini slots. That way, when I'm putting this thing together, we're not messing around, dealing with a whole bunch of alignment stuff. We can drop one bolt in at a time, get to where we need to be, and we got a little bit of wiggle room. That is not going to affect this being off center. We have two holes right back here. Those are for these. I already have a bolt sticking out, so you get the idea. I'm going to put this thing together without the motor, and I'll let you take a look. There you go. We're not going to bend this. No way. The engine obviously goes up here, sandwiches everything down, and then these two take care of the rest. This 1/4 inch is just a spacer. I mentioned that those slots that I put in them, the mini slots, aren't going to affect the alignment. Well, that's because we have straight holes on the top going into a straight hole on the bottom. So as long as this passes through whatever's in the middle, it's going to sit perfectly straight with the plate. Let's put it on the bike. Mounted on the mini bike, I'm in my holes and my slots, and I don't have any nuts on the bottom, but all the way forward, all the way back, like butter. I have our system laid out, and it's 3 individual pieces. I took the bearings and the spacer out of the jack shaft, sanded everything down, and now I'm going to go outside and I'm going to hit them with some primer and paint. I think we all know what happened here. I'm going to let these things cure up real good. She's all dried up and ready to install. In the next video, we're going to do just that. I have a good idea of what I'm going to need, but I'm also going to have to make a trip to the hardware store. Oh boy, that's what it is when it's a work in progress. Have a good night, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.